In Millennial and Gen Z Money, we hear so much about student loan debt, but it might not be the biggest debt for young Americans. In fact, 13% of millennials are debt-free. Let's bring in LendingTree Chief Credit Analyst Matt Schultz. Good to see you, Matt.
Hi, Angie. Always great to talk with you.
Is student loan debt the biggest debt for millennials and Gen Zers?
It's actually not. In both cases, mortgage debt is significantly higher than any other debt, which shouldn't be too surprising given that a house is pretty much the most expensive thing that any of us buy. But what's interesting is that when you look at the non-mortgage debts, student loan debt isn't even necessarily the biggest debt when in that case. For Gen Z, actually auto loan debt is a little higher than student loan debt on average. And when you look at millennials, it's about the same. Meanwhile, other types of debt like credit card debt and personal loans lag behind both of those.
What else did you find in your study?
Well, we looked at credit report data from early 2021 and compared it to early 2023. And we looked at primarily non-mortgage debts, so auto loans, student loan, credit cards, and personal loan debts. And what we found generally was that older Americans had knocked down their debts as a whole to a degree, and younger Americans had actually increased their debt. And so millennials saw their average balances in those four debt categories rise by about 20%. And that's really significant. But Gen Z had their average balances almost double. It's a really big deal, and it doesn't necessarily bode well for the next few years for Gen Z, because the last thing you need is runaway debt when you're just getting started with your career and working towards building that income.
What are some tips to help young Americans pay off debt?
Really, the biggest tip is that if you've got good credit, get yourself a 0% balance transfer credit card. There's not a better tool in your tool belt to take on credit card debt. It can do a great job of saving you money and interest and dramatically reduce the amount of time it takes to pay down that debt. So that's a really significant thing. Another thing that I'd suggest is building your savings while you're paying down debt. It may sound a little counterintuitive, and it can be easier said than done. But the truth is that it's really important, because that's how you break the cycle of debt that so many people.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angie. Always great to talk with you.
Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.